our stress level is almost always very, very high, which means that our body is always in a state where it's prepared to either run away or fight, but without this opportunity to actually use those muscles.
Hi, and welcome to Lead Well.
Hi. So, what are we going to cover this week? I just had a conversation today with one of my coaches, and we talked about those small, I call them interrupters. You could also call them micro breaks or micro resilience enablers, because what those little exercises do, and you probably have heard me talk you through some of them in earlier episodes, and we'll cover them at the end of this episode as well. So, what are those micro resilience exercises, those micro breaks? It really is a short period of time. It can be as short as breathing in and out for 3 times. And this is about 10 seconds. Those small, purposeful, focusing techniques really help you to recharge. And you would say, Christine, can't be in such a short time. And I will tell you, yes, it can, because what they do is they help you balance your stress levels. And I will share with you why they do that and why it's important and why it's enough to do those little exercises over the course of the day. And of course, it's always great to have those longer breaks, like going to a yoga session, doing a meditation, of course, getting enough sleep. And in addition to that, those micro breaks are really the best thing you can do for your physical and also mental health during the day. Now, why do I say they can be enough for you? Let me talk a bit about the model that we're following in the trust technique. In the trust technique, where I've shared that with you before, we work with people and their animals. And the way we do that is we help people reduce their energy level. Well, in the trust technique, we call it thinking levels, because when we are really stressed out, when we are really in a panic mode, our brain is working really, really quickly. And when we are in a sleepy mode, our thoughts are slower. Our thinking process is much slower. So, what we want to look at is what kind of thinking level are we in? What kind of energy level, stress level are we currently in? Because when you think about stress levels, what is a stress response? Why does stress exist? Nature has come up with this wonderful function in our body that whenever we feel we are in danger, our body gets us into a state where we can either run away or defend ourselves. Now, this is perfect because, yes, when we need to get out of a danger zone, then our body has a lot of energy and strength. And that is perfect because in that situation, what we need is to have enough air, oxygen. Our heart is beating really fast. Our muscle tension is higher so that we can either fight or run. Our brain is really focused on making sure that we do whatever we can to get away from that danger. Now, this again, it's perfect for our body, and it used to be perfect in a situation in a life where those stress responses occurred only several times a day in very short periods. And the rest of the time, our body was in a situation where it was functioning well, where our digestive system was activated. And what happens these days is that our stress level is almost always very, very high, which means that our body is always in a state where it's prepared to either run away or fight, but without this opportunity to actually use those muscles. And this is why When I get to work with clients who have been in a stressful environment for quite a long time, a lot of them, they are really tense. Their muscle tension is really high. A lot of them have problems with their stomach. A lot of them have problems with their digestion, just because that's exactly reflecting their state that their body usually is in. The stressful state where our muscles are active, but not so much our inner organs. So, what can you do from a practical perspective? I will share with you a few small things that you can do to have those micro breaks. And that is from multiple different techniques that I've learned. Now, when we look into positive intelligence that I've talked to you several times already, positive intelligence uses something that they call PQ reps. So, positive intelligence reps, because there we say, well, I need to train my ability to switch off as much as I need to train my ability to use my muscles. And so those PQ reps, they are nothing else but really short exercises where you focus 100% on your senses. So I usually take a pen and I look very, very closely, exactly at the shape of the pen, the light, the shadows. And I do that so that I could almost take a picture with my eyes of this pen. And I see little things, little details that I never paid attention to. And I do that for 10 seconds. That's breathing in and out 3 times. Or I do it for half a minute or so. And when you do that, when you join in, you probably notice that your thinking is getting slower by that. You could also use your sense of touch, rubbing one hand against the other. Sometimes those clients that are really tense, those that are really in a stressful environment, they have a hard time doing that because they start rubbing their hands like that. It's not that they can focus on it. So that's something where you really need to slow down. And sometimes it's getting hard. So what I do with them is usually I start with the toes. So focus on your toes and see how many of your toes you can reach actively. Or how many of them can you really feel actively? Is it 10? Is it 8? And to do that, you can also move your toes. That sometimes helps them. Or combine two senses. Combine your sense of hearing. Listen to what's really far away from you. And then focus on something that's really close to you. And at the same time, rub two fingertips together with attention so that you can feel those ridges on both of your fingertips. And whenever you do these little exercises, as I said, you will notice that your stress level reduces. Just because, I'll give you the reason why that is the case. Stress level and relaxation, or the normal state, has to do with a nervous system that is built in every individual, every living being. And there are two different states in this nervous system. There is a state where the stress system is activated, and there is a state where the relaxation or the normal system is activated. So stress is sympathetic nervous system, and the normal state is the parasympathetic nervous system. So every time you feel stressed, every time there is something that is disturbing you, is making you feeling anxious, your sympathetic nervous system is active and prepares you and your body to flee or fight. And every time you're doing this micro break, looking at a pen, looking at any object in your surroundings, or focusing on the sense of hearing, or focusing on a sense of touch, every single time you're doing them, you're refocusing your brain on your senses, and you're switching on your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, as I said before, in positive intelligence, we say we're training that muscle. And that is why it's important that you're doing these micro breaks as often as possible in a calm environment to start with. Don't wait for this stressful situation and then try to look at your pen. This is probably too hard. That's like me going to the gym for the very first time and trying to lift the heaviest weight. So start with the really low weights, and that is looking at your pen whenever there is an opportunity. Or you could even look at a spot somewhere and take that opportunity to calm down. Keep your body still and feel that tension go away. And the great thing is you can actually train your brain to be able to switch on the parasympathetic nervous system, that nervous system that helps you and your body relax, and not relax to a state where you're sleeping, but relax to a state where your inner organs are functioning well. Now, when you're doing that on an ongoing basis, and I know it's hard to remember, so let's figure out how you can build triggers that remind you to do those exercises. What I did when I started focusing on those micro resilience exercises, I used everything that so far I considered a break or a lazy time or an unproductive time, like I'm sitting in my car at a red light. I'm standing in the line at the grocery store. Every time I'm sitting in a waiting room, every time I'm standing waiting for a bus, I use that time. So that time is no longer an idle time for me, but it's a really important and very valuable time for me because I can use this time to strengthen my resilience muscle. And the more I have done this in an easy environment, the better I can then use it for difficult situations. And the way you can do it for difficult situations, I also adopted that from the trust technique. The trust technique, which is a fantastic way of working with animals and their people. And the way we are thinking there is that, of course, if you are stressed out, your thinking is like in a tunnel. You cannot remember to pick up a pen and look at your pen. But what you can do is, whenever you feel that the highest stress level is gone, you can then pick up the pen, look at it, and relax. And what it does is that this cortisol level within you is reduced much quicker as if it would be if you would not actively relax afterwards. So relax after every situation where you think, yeah, that was really stressful. That made me feel anxious. Then, of course, you can also start thinking about, well, maybe I start my day like that. So the first 5 minutes, still lying in bed, maybe, I start focusing on my sense of hearing. I start focusing on the sounds that I'm hearing, far away, close to me. And that is how I already prepare myself to start the day in a more relaxed mood, in a mood where my parasympathetic nervous system is activated. And then when I do these little exercises really often, after a bad thing, after a stressful event, and to prepare me for anything that I think might be stressful, my body gets so used to it that you will think about those exercises even in the most stressful moments. And that is exactly what I invite you to, because that really will make your life so much easier. That will make conversations so much more enjoyable when you have the ability to self-regulate and make sure that you stay in a state of mind where your thinking is not narrow, but can be really broad, because in your body, the parasympathetic nervous system is activated. And so I really encourage you, I invite you to incorporate one or two of these micro resilience techniques every day. So maybe at the start of the day and at the end of the day, and select one or two phases in between. And it doesn't have to take long. Half a minute is wonderful. First of all, find out what is it that you like most. Is it the visual sense? Does it help most when you look at something and really focus on it? Is it your hearing when you focus on sounds? Or is it your sense of touch? You could also use the sense of smell and taste, by the way. So experiment with it, try it. And to make sure that you think about it, you could either align it with something that you're doing on a regular basis, like taking a sip of tea, or you could also link it, like I did, to situations where you have to wait, where so far you're probably taking out your smartphone and start looking at that. Use that time to actively reduce your stress level. And share with us, what is it that works best for you? From my experience, everyone has a different technique that works best for them. So make sure you experiment. Don't give up because just looking at something is not helping you a lot. Make sure you try all the different things, and I'm sure you will find your micro resilience exercise that will help you get through the next days and weeks in a much more relaxed state and much more productive and actionable state. So that was it for today. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Do some of the exercises that we just talked about, and I hope you lead well yourself and others. And talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
This was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below, and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.